Welcome to the Bag Maker's Workroom. I am Chris with Simply Classic, and today is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We really appreciate you joining us Thursdays for our live stream. We are here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't join us live, you can certainly watch the recording on YouTube at any time. Make sure that you subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video or we go live. So as most of you know, last week I told you I was headed up to Chicago for the day, and luckily I had a very productive and uneventful trip. No planes were delayed. It was a long day. I got up about 2 o'clock in the morning, flew in, did my thing, and then flew back and drove home, got home about midnight. And so I slept a lot over that last weekend for sure, because it's amazing what that takes out of you, especially the older you get, right? So I want to say hi to Diane. Diane's under a tornado watch. We hate to hear that. Roxanne is here, and she is too. Oh my goodness. I guess there's some crazy weather out there. And then we say hi to Tina in California. So hello, everyone. So our theme today is strap ends and strap connectors. So here's what we have planned. First, we're going to go over the Simply Classic scoop. Then I'm going to show you our pattern of the week, which is the Compton. I'm going to show you some leather, faux leather, and lining that pair nicely together. We're going to look at some designer bags for inspiration. I'll show you how to make really unique strap connector. Then we're going to talk about the history of Michael Kors. We'll feature our customers' bags in Artistry Avenue, and then, of course, answer questions. So as a reminder, if you have any questions during the live stream, go ahead and ask them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end of the hour. So please take just a second to give us a thumbs up on the thumbs up button below, because it really does help us reach more people on YouTube. And of course, we really appreciate all of your support, because without you, we would not be here. So thank you. So we're going to talk for just a few minutes about what's going on here at Simply Classic. There hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff. Of course, we're still trying to move into our warehouse, which is going to take some time. Once we get it all set up, I'm sure we'll give you a quick tour. We'll do a little video. But in the meantime, we want to remind you about our online leather class in June, which is the Lacy. It's already about half sold out. So if you are interested, go ahead and check it out. We're going to be learning this bag that you see here, the Lacy. It does have a really cool weave, like woven pattern. And we're actually in the middle of our we just finished our first class. We actually added an extra zoom to it because of Mother's Day, you know, people had a lot going on over the weekend. So everybody was very pleased with it. It is really beautiful. So we are so excited about it. I'm sure you're going to start seeing it being posted in the Facebook group. But basically, the dates in June are 13th to 23rd. The cost is $350 plus shipping. You get the pattern for the Lacy, which will never be released outside of this course, 6 pre-recorded video lessons, 3 live Zoom check-ins, lifetime access to your student portal. The class kit includes the Italian leather that you need, kangaroo lace, stiffeners, hardware, silver marking pen, a hole punch, I mean, all kinds of good stuff. So the color options for the class kit are this distressed russet, elephant gray, a textured red, and a very dark brown embossed ostrich. And Tina says, I cannot wait to make this beautiful bag. We cannot wait for that class. I'll tell you, it is such a pleasing bag to finish, and it just feels so nice, and it is amazing. The current class loves it. So check out our events page or the link below to register. And if you have any questions about the class, please let me know. I mean, we're here to answer questions, and you can always email us as well. So the next thing I want to tell you about is our leather project box. So we have restocked the classic tote project box. It is back by popular demand. We had over 30 people reach out and say, we really want this. So we ordered more leather. And this bag was inspired by Todd's Timeless Tote, which is a very popular bag. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it up. You can see here, this is the bag. You can unclip the center and the sides can be out or they can be in like this. And it is certainly a fun bag to make. The colors that we have available all have black on one side and then a color on the other side, okay? And some of them are sold out. So the linen lime is sold out. The bone gray is sold out. We have one gray, we have two with a blue, and then the rest of the ones we have are bright blue. And the bright blue is a beautiful color. I'm surprised more people hadn't jumped on. That's really beautiful. Nice, perfect for summer. So the kit includes double-sided Italian leather, hardware, pattern pieces, and exclusive video tutorial for you to make your tote. This is not going to be restocked again. We're not doing this bag again. We're going to move on to something else, or the next project box is going to be something different. So when it's gone, it's gone. So make sure you get it before it's too late. So before we move on, we need to pick our giveaway from our last week's episode. And if you missed it, we started giving away a PDF pattern to one person watching live and one to a person who watches the replay. So we have the name of everyone who entered here, and I'm going to draw one winner. And this person will get a PDF pattern for the Simply Classic Clutch. And so we're going to go to the overhead, and I'm going to go ahead. We do it the old-fashioned way around here. We just put all the names. This is more fun, right? Mix it around, and we asked you to comment your name and the type of fabric you like working with. And the winner is Carol. Let's see, it's a little blurry, but Carol, it's Isabel Johnson 5228. Carol, my favorite to work with is faux leather. So congratulations, Carol. You have won a Simply Classic Clutch pattern. So make sure you email us within the next 30 days and let us know you won, and we will go ahead and we will get you your pattern. So congratulations. So next week, we'll choose a winner from the comments on this episode to win a PDF pattern. I'm going to give you the details in that in just a minute. But first, we are going to look at our pattern of the week, which is our featured product. And this is the Compton. Now, the Compton is a bigger bag, okay? Of course, the PDF is on sale this week. It is $12.49, and we're also offering 10% off of the Compton hardware kits. It's really, even though it's a big bag, it's slim. You can see, look at how slim that is. So it's really a great size to carry every day, which makes it really unique. And we're going to take a little bit closer look in the overhead. So it's really one of our more advanced patterns. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's really a beautiful, you can feature a really nice pattern fabric here on the front. This is actually leather. We have kits, we don't have kits. We have leather hides that you can buy. And it's kind of like a coral color with some dark brown. It's really pretty. On the inside, you pull this apart. You have got two large compartments. And you can customize this however you want. So on this side, I actually have like a sunglasses pocket and a key fob. Over here, I put a double slip pocket. And then in the center, you have another section which has another pocket, slip pocket here, and a zipper pocket. So there is lots of room and lots of space for all kinds of things. It is finished with binding. The binding is just here on the inside, and you can't even hardly see the binding here. But my secret weapon of binding is always use black. Okay, doesn't matter what color lining I use black. And then if you have to stitch over any part of it, can't even tell. Okay, so this is the Compton. Really love this bag. I actually designed it for someone who said, I want more pockets. There's not enough. I want more. I want more. So just to give you an idea on the size of it, you can see here it is fairly large. Let me hold it up over here. And at the end of the episode, we're going to go ahead and give away a pattern, a PDF pattern for the Compton. And then if you are watching the replay afterwards, here's how you can win. Enter your name and what kind of sewing machine you use. We will go ahead and next week we will pick a winner, and that will be on Thursday, May 22nd. So anyone who comments on the replay before next Thursday is eligible to win. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about perfect pairings. This is where we pair some of our leather and faux leather with matching lining, thread, and hardware. So the faux leather pairing is inspired by a Compton that I made recently. I don't have it with me because it was a sample for our distributor, but I want to show you a quick photo of it. This is the Compton. The fabric is the multicolored lizard in black, pink, and red. We also have it in a blue, but I happen to do it out of this one. And it just really came out amazing. So we're going to go to the overhead, and I'm going to show you the different products here. Of course, we suggest black thread. The hardware kit there's not a whole lot to it. You've got a couple of magnetic snaps, 1/2-inch swivel clasps, a couple of zipper pulls, and some purse feet. We suggest burgundy for the lining. And then, of course, the croc here, or excuse me, not croc, it is lizard. It is called the multicolored lizard, red, pink, and black, and then black for accents. Okay, so that there is our faux leather pairing. And whether you make a Compton or something else, we think this would be a beautiful combination. So for our leather pairing, we are recommending that lizard that I showed you just a second ago. I'm going to show you a hide here. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. We suggest, now I did mine all in the same, okay? I didn't use an accent. And this is a very thin leather to the point where on my straps, I actually added a little bit of webbing inside of it to give it a little more thickness, because folding it 4 times and half again wasn't even enough. I mean, that's how thin this is. It's beautiful to work with. We suggest, again, the, I'm sorry. We don't suggest, I was going to say gunmetal hardware, but we don't. We suggest bronze hardware, and then our desert sand linen. And this is on clearance. We don't have much of this left, but it goes perfect with it. And of course, dark brown thread. And we have the dark brown. We just restocked the Tech 70. We're waiting for the 45 to come in. It should be here any day. Okay, so for this week, we have our leather on sale, 10% off. And then, of course, our desert sand is already on clearance at $17. And then our hardware kits are 10% off. Okay, so no matter what you make with that, we know it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. All right. So we are going to move on to some designer bag inspiration. And I'll tell you, this is always my favorite part of the show because I love looking at bags, don't you? I mean, I know you have to because you love making bags, right? But I want to, our theme is strap connectors and strap ends. So we're going to look at some different techniques and styles that you can copy. And while we're going through these examples, let me know what your favorites are, because I'm always interested to know what you hear, or to know what you think, to kind of hear what you think. And if I know what you're looking for or what you like, you never know, it might find its way into a future Simply Classic pattern. So we are going to start with strap ends. And basically, when your handle attaches directly to the bag without using hardware, you have a lot of freedom to kind of customize the strap end. You can see some examples here of some common shapes. So the first one is a plain rectangle, and basically that would be something that's the same width as the rest of the strap, and it's just sewn onto the bag. You have a rectangle that's wider than the rest of the strap, which would be number 2. Then you have number 3, which is something that is squared off, but it tapers out just slightly at the end. That's really a beautiful one. Number 4 and number 5 are English point. And, there's some debate as to what is an English point. Basically, if you have a leather end punch, anything with a point like that is pretty much an English point, in my opinion. But you can see there's different shapes. So number 4 is obviously a very slim one. And then number 5 is just like the Louis Vuitton Neverfull hack, which we have a free pattern piece for this strap end, and that's linked in the description below. Then number 6 is a long, rounded, and kind of tapered end. Number 7 is more of a diamond, and number 8 is more rounded. So you can see some of these bags have flat straps and some of them have rolled straps. And I want to point one thing out to you. So both of these bags here in this next slide have rolled handles. The bag on the left is a very popular Lateco bag called the Alea. It is a purse that's been credited with starting the whole East-West bag trend. On the right, there's a $40 unbranded bag from AliExpress. Now, both of them are very cool bags. You know, the East-West bag obviously is all the rage now. But on this unbranded bag, we can see that the tubing, you know, extends into the strap connector. It doesn't look terrible. I think it's definitely a unique look, but it's different than that Lateco bag. The Lateco bag looks like it's got some padding. It's also a rolled handle, but it's got some extra padding there or extra foam to kind of hide that severe, I guess you would call it tubing that you see. So anyway, just an example. A couple different ways that you can do this, and you can certainly get creative and do whatever you'd like. And I think they're just both different kinds of looks. So strap ends are, something you can get creative with. So you see the one here on the left, it's an Hermes bag. And basically all they did is they just cut a circle out of the strap end and stitched it on the bag. So of course, make sure you don't cut your holes or whatever you're going to do too large, because you don't want to weaken your strap and have it break. And then the Liffner bag on the right, they decided to just use 2 different strap ends, one rounded and one kind of pointed. So we're going to look at some bags with some interesting strap connectors like this one here. This is the Attico bag. It's another example of a rolled handle where you can see the tubing. Seems a little more deliberate, maybe a little more polished, maybe slightly tapered a little bit. It's not sticking out as much, but it's definitely an interesting shape and it has a lot of sharp angles in it. This here is, of course, a Tory Burch bag, and buckles are very common. Just like our Lusso, you can have straps and handles attached with buckles. This knotted bag is really interesting. They just added a piece of, I'd say, a connector onto the bag that has 2 holes in it, and then took a rolled handle of sorts, threaded it through, and knotted it off. So it's almost like an East-West bag in a way, right? It's just a little bit, the handles are different. This here really caught my eye. I love this one. This is a Christian Louboutin bag, and it has studded loops around the strap. I'm going to show you how to do this and sharpen your skills in a few minutes, but this to me is such a classic upscale look. So we have, JP says, I love all of these ideas. I get stuck in a rut sometimes. Changing up the connection shape really makes a big difference. It does. And, you know, sometimes it helps us get out of our comfort zone a little bit when we try something new and different. And then we think, oh, I like this after all. It's something you might not think you like, but end up liking. So this next one is a bag by Etro. And it is interesting because it looks like that piece of lacing goes all the way through the handle. Okay, easy enough. But the first time I looked at it, I thought that they just pulled the lacing through the bag and tied it off to make those little strap connector things in the front. But if you look at the picture on the left, you see that it's actually a separate piece of lacing. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. This one here is definitely a different type of connector. It is a piece, basically looks like a rectangle that's sewn onto the bag with a couple loops, and then they just threaded this cording through it and knotted it off. So definitely a different, unique look. Now this leather bucket bag is very similar to the last one, and I really wanted to show them to you side by side because it's the same idea. Of course, instead of using a different material for the handles, they use the same material. I think that gives it a little classier edge. They cut off the straps that were beyond the knot, which again, I think gives it a very classy look. And I love the way that they actually stitched the loops into a seam. That is really beautiful. I just like this. I really like this one a lot. This Nancy Gonzalez bag, I mean, it is just gorgeous. You've got, of course, a crocodile. You've got this beautiful braided handle that goes all the way down to the bottom of the bag. It is just, can't go wrong with that. It's so pretty. Okay, this is a Kate Spade bag, and we actually have a free cutting chart and tutorial on this. It is something I saw a while ago, and what I really liked about it is that the strap connectors act as a strap connector and as a decorative accent. You know, it's a very boxy looking bag, but that connector that you see on the front that kind of loops up, it actually goes all the way down to the other side, and then the handle goes on the loops. So the idea of it is really neat, and if you haven't given this one a try, I think it's worth it. It's just a really unique way to do this. So we could literally probably do 10 episodes about strap connectors because there are so many different options. But for now, I hope this gave you some inspiration. I've also done a few YouTube videos in the past with different kinds of strap connectors, and we put those in a playlist for you if you want to take a look. And of course, that's linked in the description below as well. So for Sharpen Your Skills, we're going to look at ways to make you and help you become a better bag maker. And so if you ever have any suggestions for Sharpen Your Skills, certainly let us know. We're always open to new ideas and new things. But today I'm going to show you how to do this Christian Louboutin bag that we looked at just a minute ago with the studs. Now, of course, I didn't use studs. I used just another piece of faux. But here is my example. We're going to go to the overhead. And you're going to see here that I used some of the metallic from this faux and cut out, kind of fussy cut it, made sure I cut it out. And you can see that the handle is actually sewn in. This kind of goes all the way around the handle. Okay. And so it's really not a difficult thing to do. And I'm going to show you it in another color too, because I know sometimes black is really hard to see. But you can see here, let me zoom in some, I think that will help. So there's basically a slit here, and this, whatever you decide you want to use, whether it's another faux or something else, actually goes around the strap connector, or excuse me, the strap, and of course we have our strap here. And you can see here on the back. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did that. So the first thing you want to do is make a strap, okay? Easy enough. We know how to do that. Just a regular strap. Of course, your handle, your strap is going to be certainly much longer than this. The next thing you want to do is you're going to cut your accent piece, and this is going to be the piece that actually goes around the strap. So I cut it 1 inch, and then I just folded it to the center and went ahead and stitched on both sides. Now, this is a place where you can add some really cool decorative accents. You can put some studs like you saw in the photo. You could certainly put some rivets, you know, whatever you may want, I think would be really cool on this. And basically the width of this is going to be however deep you actually attach your strap connector. You're going to multiply that times 2. So let's say it's 3 inches from here to here. So it's 3 inches, add an inch, so it's 4, and then times 2, so it's 8. You'd rather have a little extra that you can cut off than have it too short. Okay, I don't know if that's too dark. I hope you guys can see that. Maybe try to zoom out this a little bit. Maybe that'll help. Okay, so I have a piece of faux leather here, and what I did is I measured down and I made a slit where my strap my strap's going to go in. Okay, easy enough. So I'm going to go ahead and put my strap in my slit just like that. Now, what I found with this is that you really need to attach your strap to the top of the bag. And we're going to go back to that photo for just a second because I want to show you on this bag. It's kind of hard to see, but at the very top there, you can kind of see where there's a little line of stitching. And you have to do that. If you don't, otherwise, every single time, like when you put this on, this could flop forward and it's going to kind of lose its effect. So once you have your strap in, you're going to take your accent piece, whatever it may be, of course, slide it in. This is going to be stitched, and you're just going to take and you're going to fold this around and you're going to stick it back in the other side. Okay, so you're putting this on top of your strap connector. Okay, and you can play with it a little bit, make sure it's even kind of where you want it. I'm going to kind of fold that down. And then what you're going to do is go to your machine and you're just going to stitch right across here. Okay. Once you do that, it's pretty much done. That's it. It's super easy. Okay. So I have a stitch line here where I stitched it to the bag. And then of course I have a stitch line here where I stitched the whole thing together. Now I think it would be really cool to add like a rivet or something here in the middle too. So since I don't have any studs or anything to could on the accent, you could add that to the handle, which would give it a little more reinforcement as well. So I just really think that is a beautiful accent, just something different that you can add. Almost looks like a little tuxedo in a way, and just something to think about for future strap connectors. So Mary said, would you stitch that to the top after your lining is in place? Yes, I would. Actually, I say that's a good question because you're probably going to have to put this strap connector in. When we go back to the overhead just a second. You're going to have to put this in before you obviously stitch your bag together. So I would say no. Go ahead and stitch it, but don't stitch it so close to the top that you use your seam allowance. Okay, this is just a sample, but what I would have done here is stitched it, about 3/4 of an inch down. Because if you have for instance, if you have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, because you certainly are going to have to fold this when you do your top stitching, and you want to leave enough space to get in between your handle, wherever you stitched, and your top stitching. So you could either do it that way. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Or you could actually go ahead and put your handle in. Don't stitch this part yet. Just go ahead and stitch stitch here at the bottom, wrap it around, stitch at the bottom, leave this, loose. And then when you're done your bag, and I think that's what you're asking, then at that point, go ahead, you have your lining attached, you flipped it, you've done your top stitching, then go ahead and stitch this on. So yes, Mary, I think that's a great idea to wait until afterwards. But you're going to need it because if that's not stitched, this is just, as it flops forward, this is going to look funny. It's just going to be hanging out there. Okay, great question. A lot of these things as I go through, I'm figuring it out as I'm doing it. So these are great questions because it makes me think about it too. Like, oh, wait a minute. So Linda said, I love these workroom sessions. I learned something every time. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for watching. We really appreciate you. It really means a lot to us. We're always excited to do them. So we are going to move on to the Thursday thread. And the Thursday thread is where we tell you a story about me, you, or some story from history. And today we're going to talk about Michael Kors. So Michael Kors was born on Long Island, New York in 1959. His birth name was Carl Anderson Jr., and that was after his father. His parents divorced when he was 2. And his mother, Joan, remarried a man named Bill Kors. So instead of changing his name to Carl Kors, his mom told him that he could choose a new first name. So at the age of 5, he legally became Michael David Kors. Can you imagine picking your own first name at 5? That's pretty cool. So he loved designing from a very young age. When his mom married Bill, 5-year-old Michael even helped revamp her wedding dress. It was originally covered in bows and embellishments, but Michael kind of went through it. He thought it was a bit much, so he helped her clean it up. In fact, his mom, Joan, said he designed the whole wedding. He told my mother what to wear and how to cut her hair, and we all just listened to him. You could tell that he really knew what he was talking about. And of course, this is a picture of him here with his mom. So when Michael was a kid, he also dabbled in acting. And in 1960s, he appeared in commercials for Lucky Charms and Cheerios, of all things. He took acting classes throughout his youth, but his real love was design of all kinds. He considered going into architecture or car design, but ultimately he decided to pursue fashion. So when he was 12, he began selling his homemade clothing designs out of his parents' house. He converted the basement into a little mini boutique that he named Iron Butterfly. And who else can tell me what Iron Butterfly is? Does anybody out there know? Because I knew immediately, but these young girls that work for me didn't know. So I'm going to give you all a second and see if you can tell me what Iron Butterfly is. So after high school, he attended the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. And during his college, he got the opportunity to design an in-house clothing for a store in Manhattan called Lothar's. So let's see. It was a rock band. Yes, Mary, that's what I said too. There's a rock band named Iron Butterfly. It was a rock band in the 60s. So anyway, for those young people out there who didn't know that, I guess maybe he named it after the rock band. I don't know. Anyway, so as I was saying, he was in college. He got the opportunity to work for a store called Lothar's, and he ended up basically, he was in school. He started working for this store. He got a cool opportunity. He dropped out of school, believe it or not. He didn't even finish. Even as well off as he is and as famous as he is, he never finished college. So this photo from right around that time, one day in 1980, Michael was at Lothar's. He was setting up a Windows display, and he caught the fashion of eye of a fashion director from Bergdorf Goodman's. And if you're not familiar with Bergdorf's, it's an upscale department store in Manhattan. So this woman tapped on the windows. He was setting up the window display and asked him who designed the clothes because she absolutely loved them. So that moment of recognition inspired Michael to start his own brand. Within a year, he launched Michael Kors label, and Bergdorf began selling it in their store in 1981. He got a profile in Vogue, and his career began to take off. He was just 21 years old, and this is a photo of him taken for Vogue magazine. He's standing with two models who are wearing clothes from his very first collection. Wasn't he cute? He was a cute kid. I say kid, he's 21 years old here, but he's handsome. So this is one of the first bags that he designed for the Michael Kors brand. It's a sleek and simple bag, and it's really a great example of his minimalist style. Now, even though Michael Kors had his own brand, his career was a bit of a roller coaster over the next 15 years. And let me just say, that's business. I mean, he had plenty of successes, but he also had some failures. And if you've ever been in business or know somebody who's been in business, that's life. I mean, unfortunately, you got to take the good with the bad. In 1997, he got a big break. LVMT, the company that owns Louis Vuitton, invested in his brand. And that allowed him to launch a more affordable clothing line he called Michael Kors, which is being modeled here in this photo from Vogue. His high-end line is called Michael Kors Collection. So that same year, he was also hired by the French house Celine to be their first women's ready-to-wear designer. Celine wasn't really very well known in the United States, and he helped change that. These are some runway photos from his time at Celine, and you can see that all of these models are carrying Celine bags. The most popular bag he designed during his time at Celine is probably the Boogie bag, which launched in 2002. And it was popular with celebrities like Madonna. And speaking of strap connectors, this is a really interesting one, isn't it? I mean, that's that design on the front. It kind of doubles as a design feature / strap connector. So Michael Kors left Celine after 6 years to focus on his own brand. And in 2004, he became a judge on the TV hit show Project Runway, which, if you don't know, is a competition show for fashion designers. I was a faithful fan, wish it was still on, love watching that show. But he worked on Project Runway for 8 years. I did not realize it was 8 years. But you can see him here, of course, with Tim and Mina, and he's there in the third chair, and then, of course, Heidi. So in 2001, Michael Kors married his longtime partner, Lance Lepere. Lance is a fashion designer in his own right, and these days he works as a creative director for Michael Kors brand. The two men are also known for their philanthropy, and they do a lot of support to charities and causes they care about. So let's talk about what makes Michael Kors' design stand out. You got bags, shoes, accessories. They're all such huge parts of his success and brand, and it's probably what he's best known for. His aesthetic is quintessentially American, with sportswear-inspired pieces, lots of clean, sleek lines. And he has said he likes minimalist, timeless designs in neutral colors that allow women to add their own personality. So in the past, he's compared his style to the Gap, if the Gap were more upscale. So here we have just kind of like a variety of his designs from the 90s. So some of his designs are departure from his minimalist style, like this bag he designed during his time at Celine. It's from the Y2K era, and you can tell with the metallic leather and the bulky pockets, I'm sure that it's Y2K era. Yet this is still kind of looks sleek, right? And it's because it has so many clean lines and sharp corners, so your eye doesn't get overwhelmed with everything else going on. These pockets are actually a signature of his that you'll still find on some of his bags today, but he usually puts them on much simpler bags where the pockets are the main focus. And of course, when we look at Michael Kors designs that are available now, we can see more of that classic style shining through. These bags are pretty neutral with very classic shapes. So even when he does use color, like the pink tote bag on the right, it's usually not bright or flashy. And let me tell you, this is right up my alley. These bags are simple, they're elegant, they're classy, and I just can't say enough about him. I mean, I really love his aesthetic. So there's one last bag I want to show you. This is the Michael Kors Lily Shoulder Bag. And what does it remind you of? I mean, it's the Compton. It's not where I designed the bag from. I didn't even know this existed when I designed the Compton. So look at the interior. I mean, it is almost spot on. The front of it looks a little different, but you know, pretty cool. So I read a quote from Michael Kors where he talked about balancing his style with current trends. And he explained that in the 90s, fashion was moving away from the classic polished style like he likes. And grunge and hip hop were really popular. And that kind of came with their own unique fashion trend. So when he worked at Celine, he had to find a balance between staying true to his signature style and incorporating the trends of the time. And I think we saw that with that metallic bag that we just looked at. I think that it's probably something that every designer deals with, and we all have our own way of finding that balance. And, you know, not that I can compare myself to Michael Kors because I certainly cannot, but I do find that too where, you know, a lot of people will, or there's a new trend like the East-West bag. You know, that's a huge bag, huge trend. I think it's Aura Rosa just came out with a pattern. She did a fantastic job with it. It's just not my thing, you know, it's just not my style. So I just decided to pass on it. It's not something I really want to design, and I'm just going to move on to something I like. And so, you know, that's kind of something we all deal with. So here is that, you know, that's the story of Michael Kors. He's still around, of course, he's still designing. And so I'm sure we'll see more amazing bags from him in the future. And I can't wait to see what he comes up with. So in Artistry Avenue, our next segment is where we feature all of you, our artists. And each week we share photos that were posted on the Simply Classic bag making community on Facebook or that were emailed to share@simplyclassic.net. All of our featured artists will win a PDF pattern of your choice. You will have 30 days to email share@simplyclassic.net to let us know which pattern you would like. So let's take a look at this week's artists. This first one is by Karen, and Karen made the Julie. Now, I love hacks. You know how much I love hacks, and she hacked the Julie. We had a actual hack video on this, and see how she cinched the sides. This is really a perfect faux for it. It's very lightweight. She used, of course, our triangle geometric, and then she used solid black for the pocket. Okay, I cannot say enough about Loretta's bag. It is absolutely gorgeous. She made a Bircham. This is a Bircham. When you look at it, does it look like a Bircham? It does not to me. I did not know this was a Bircham. But on the picture on the right, you can kind of see that zipper pocket there on the back, where that was kind of the signature, I guess, part of the Bircham. She, of course, added a flap. Totally different, which is fantastic. Love the O-ring on it. She changed up the strap connectors, which I actually think I like better than the Bircham strap connectors. I mean, she really did an amazing job. She used a crackle finish Norwegian deer skin and then a brown Italian goat skin. Isn't it beautiful? Absolutely love it. And then, of course, we have another Bircham hack. We love hacks. Jerry Lynn made the Bircham, and she used the Louis Vuitton Never Full. She changed it up a little bit. She put some rivets on the handle connectors. She extended it to the bottom. And she made this for her sister-in-law who wanted a tote bag with 2 water bottle sleeves. So that's what she did. She said, I got creative, added a few features. Thanks, Chris, for encouraging us to make patterns our own. So thank you so much, and congratulations to all of our artists. Please email us within 30 days and let us know which pattern you like. And that email address is share@simplyclassic.net. So we're going to do our live giveaway, and we're going to answer some questions. So while we're answering questions, we want you to type the keyword tote, T-O-T-E, tote, in the chat, and we'll have the computer pick a winner. And this is for a PDF download, so it is open worldwide. 1 entry per person, please. Just enter it one time. So we're going to take a look at our questions. And before I do, I want to answer a question that's been coming up a lot lately. People have been emailing us on it, and I wanted to address it. So we've been getting the question a lot. A lot of people are asking about purchasing standalone patterns for the classic tote, the banda, and the lacy. So as a reminder, the classic tote is, of course, this bag here, which is our project box tote, our leather project box. It comes with the project box, all the materials you need to create the bag. The banda and the lacy are bags that we make in our online leather class, okay? So the answer to the question is no. We don't sell standalone patterns for those bags, but I want to explain why. It's not because we're trying to be, stingy with them or hoarding them or trying to make you pay more money. It has nothing to do with that. The fact is we do not have patterns, like full patterns for any of these. It might be helpful to kind of explain what goes into a pattern. I have some folks here, of course, that help me. They are amazing. I could not do it without them. But I'm still the one who writes all of our patterns. It takes months of work. Prototyping, which means I'm at the sewing machine, sewing bag after bag after bag, trying to figure out, the little nuances of every single one. I'm creating the pattern pieces. I'm writing the instructions. I'm working with the testers, I'm taking photos, I'm editing photos, and so there's really a lot that goes into it. Our newest pattern, for instance, the Kaplan, is 44 pages long, and it has 160 process photos, so it really takes you through every step in detail. And that's important to me to do that. I want to make this a success for you, every bag that you make. So I'll never release a standalone pattern that doesn't meet our high standards. And my #1 goal is to set you up for success when you're bag making. So for example, I make sure all of our patterns are compatible with leather, faux leather, and cork, so you can work with whatever material you're comfortable with. In addition, our patterns include the bag lining. So they have key fobs and pockets, credit card slots, all different things. Some pattern designers only write instructions for the exterior, which is a little odd to me, but You know, everybody has their own thing, and that's okay. Sometimes we have a bag that doesn't quite meet our criteria, and that's when we might create a project box for it. So all of the bags that I had mentioned before that we don't have patterns for, those are bags that I designed specifically for leather. So if you wanted to make something similar with faux leather, the process would be very different, or maybe even impossible. The classic tote, for example, is an unlined bag, and the pattern is written for double-sided leather. The project box comes with the double-sided leather, the hardware, the PDF pattern pieces, and a video tutorial that takes you through the bag, but there are no written instructions. And that's why we recommend some leather experience before you purchase it. In the tutorial, I show you how to construct the bag, but we don't go into detail about certain techniques like edge coating, for example. Even if I were to sit down and write a completed pattern for the classic tote, it still wouldn't meet our criteria because you need very specific materials to complete it. It's not a kind of one for all, and it's unlined, and it's really almost impossible to line if you're using faux leather. So I hope that kind of clears things up. We do it to help you be successful. We don't want to put a pattern out there that is not going to work for you, and then you're disappointed and we're disappointed and everybody's disappointed, and we certainly don't want that to happen. So we have not changed from our typical pattern release. We're still releasing 4 patterns a year. Our mystery box subscribers get it first. They kind of get a 30-day lead on it, and then of course we release it the first of the month following the subscription box. So I hope that helps clear that up. So Christine says, what do we need to do before taking the Lacy class? Okay, that's a great question. So in the Banda class, we go over some things where we glue the bag, like we glue the stiffener to the bag. We introduce you to different types of stiffeners. We really go over in detail edge coating, base coating, all that kind of good stuff. We also provide all of that to you. So you get the glue, you get the edge paint, you get the base coat, all that in the Banda class. So the Lacy class is kind of a second phase. And what I mean is, you know, we've had some people that take the Banda class that said, you know, this is really fun, I liked it, but leather's not my thing. And that's okay. And that's a great class to take because you're not having to invest in the leather and all of the different tools. You can see if you like it or not before you take a huge plunge. Where by the time you're doing the Lacy, you should kind of know that you're comfortable with leather. So we still go over how to glue, how to base coat and edge coat, but we're not providing any of that to you. Instead, we're just giving you the leather, the lacing, the lining, and you have to get your own glue applicators, of course, base coat, edge paint, all that kind of stuff. That stuff you need to have on hand. It's not really any more difficult than the Banda bag, I would say. You've got some different techniques in it for sure, but it's less of an introduction to and more of a, hey, okay, we know that you've done this a little bit, and now we want to give you another way to be successful with leather. So I hope that helps. So Rock says, Chris, what is your intake on bag stiffener like cardboard? So for bag stiffeners, especially when using leather, we always try to use Salpa or the actual leather stiffeners that are out there like Brio or, of course there's plenty of different brands and kinds. Whenever I use faux leather, I always try to use the Decoville, light, heavy, that type of thing, the adhesives. Once in a while, we have a hard time finding stuff. Like right now, I don't know how many of you know, but the Decoville, the Pelon plant flooded in Florida last year when Hurricane Milton hit. And that's the reason why nobody can find Decoville heavy or light right now. So sometimes we have to get creative. And I have used cardboard before when I've done like false bottoms on bags. I scrounge around and kind of see what I can find, especially if it's hidden. Cardboard isn't bad if you can maybe put something else on it, because as we all know, over time, cardboard can kind of bend and such. So even if I use cardboard, I'm trying to put another layer of something on top of it to help it not bend. So I hope that helps. So Christine says, can we still get the Banda bag? Right now, we do not have it. However, we're starting to have a lot of more people ask about it. I think we've had already 3 or 4 people. So it sounds like there's some more interest. So what we'll probably do is maybe in July, we'll have another Banda class. So if you're interested in taking the Banda, go ahead and email us and let us know. And that way we'll kind of gauge you know, how many people we'll have. I don't usually have huge classes, you know, anywhere between 5 and 10 people is plenty. And it's usually we have good Zoom lessons and such. So, Christine, if you're interested in that, maybe hold tight on the Lacey. We'll go ahead and get another Banda class up maybe next month. Because again, I know, you know, 2 or 3 people have already reached out, and we'll go ahead and get another one going for you. So Lynn says, is there a difference between edge paint for leather bags and edge paint for faux leather? That's a really good question. So as far as the paint, I say no. But the base coat is a definite yes. Of course, whenever you edge paint, you always want to put base coat on first. And it's kind of like if you're going to prime a wall, you want to put primer on the wall before you put the paint on the wall. It just helps the paint adhere better. It helps hide any imperfections in the wall, right? I mean, that's kind of what the primer's for. Well, base coat is kind of like primer. So it helps kind of smooth out the edges. It helps like maybe soak in, build up a good barrier between the paint and whatever you're actually painting on. So whenever I'm painting on faux leather, first thing I do is put several layers of Ghirardini base coat, and that's the thicker one. One is not enough. Usually the first coat's a very, very thin coat, and then after that I put a little thicker, until usually 3 to 4 coats is good. And then I put the paint on. And I actually use my leather paint, which is either the Vernus paint that you can get from Rocky Mountain Leather, or I'm trying to think of the other one, what it's called, Uniters, either from one of those 2 from Rocky Mountain Leather. And I just use that on my faux because it's just going on to the base coat. But if I'm using leather, I'm going to use the Uniters base coat. It's a different consistency, a different thickness, and it acts better on the leather than the Ghirardini does. So go to Rocky Mountain, or you can really go to any, you know, there's plenty of different places. I love the Uniters. You can get it at Rocky Mountain. And I would say start with that as your base coat, and then you can use whatever kind of edge paint you want. If you go to our resource page on our website, just go to the website, click on resources. There is an entire page dedicated to all things that we recommend. There are a few affiliate links on there, but there are a lot of them that are just from various places. We talk about edge paint, we talk about tools and tricks and chairs and lights and I mean, you name it, pretty much it's on there. So I encourage you to go check that out. So Nancy says, just checked Melissa Sew Yours have 17 and 35 inch Deckerville. Okay, great. Yep, that's a great place to get it. So Donna says, I've used Autoline headliner fabric. Yes, I've heard about that, the auto headliner. Would that work instead? Yes, you certainly can. Now, I've never used that, but I think, and you can answer this probably for me, Donna, is it foam? Is it like a headliner foam, or is it more of a stiffer, more of a leather-like? So let me ask you that, because I don't know. I've never used it, but I've heard it works really well. So Tina says, I got my project box last night and I watched the video this morning at 4 a.m. I was so excited. I get a lot of people telling me they're watching me in the middle of the night. So I hope that, I guess I'm not lulling you to sleep. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think that a lot of people get up and say, what am I going to do? Let me watch Chris. I'm very honored. So, all right, let's see if we have a winner. So our winner is Robin Bolvik. So congratulations, Robin. You are the winner of the Compton pattern. So make sure you go ahead and email us. It's share@simplyclassic.net. And if you can do that in the next 24 hours, it's helpful because we can go ahead and get you your pattern right away. Okay. So we have one more question. Donna says, yes, like both actually. Okay. Yeah. So I think that, that would probably be a really good option. We are working on and I know I've told you this already, a Decoville heavy and light comparable product. Unfortunately, the tariffs got us. So it's kind of been put on hold for a little bit. It's one of the things I found out when I was in Chicago last week. Our interfacing is coming though. That should be here in the next, 6 weeks at most. We're gonna have some really good interfacing. But the Decoville, the stabilizers, we're gonna have to put that on hold until all this tariff stuff gets worked out. So let's hope it does quickly. So Robin says, do not skimp and use markers or paint markers. I'm assuming for edge paint. They ultimately bleed and seep out and stain the area. I've ruined a bag by doing this. Okay, that's great advice, Robin. I do know now, I will say this, I've seen this and I've thought about using it. They have these, I don't want to call it a marker, but it's like a marker. It's like looks like a pen, it has a foam end. And you unscrew the top and you put your paint in there and then you can screw it back on. And then you can go ahead and use that. So it's edge paint. It's just coming out in a foam brush or foam piece instead of getting put on with a roller or skewer or something. Kind of like, remember when your dad used to polish his shoes and he had that black shoe polish and you push the sponge and then you polish his shoes. It's kind of like that. I'm sure much better though. But that might be interesting, something to try. Okay, so we want to thank everyone very much for joining us this evening. We love doing these for you, these shows. We get excited about them. We work hard, and we really appreciate you joining us. So we will look forward to next week. It will be May 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be talking all about evening bags. So don't forget to submit your Simply Classic bags and by posting them in the Facebook group or emailing share@simplyclassic.net. That's where you can also send questions, stories, and topic ideas. So until next week, everybody, happy sewing.